Hey guys, it's Friday night, and guess what time it is? It's time for Long Shots TV, and it's baseball season, early baseball season, but still, we've got some things to talk about, and joining me tonight is my good buddy, Donnie, right side. How you doing, Donnie?
Hey, doing good. No complaints, Tony. I know you've been real busy behind the scenes over there with trendbetting.com, so it's nice to maybe take a little break, do a little video, give some breakdowns of Major League Baseball, because the month of April has been going very well, especially for myself. If you are a fan of not betting with the public, you're doing very well, Tony, in the month of April.
Love those early dogs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about it all the time, and certainly playing out just like every other April. Same thing this one as well, Tony. The dogs are prevailing. If you know the trigger signs, you know what you're looking at, you can make some money even in April when the numbers don't necessarily line up the way they would for May, June, July, and August.
Sounds awesome. We've got some good games going tonight already. Well underway. Atlanta Phillies underway. Phillies up on Atlanta 3-2. Hellickson's pitching against Cologne. That should have been a pretty decent matchup to watch. I don't know, Donnie, if you got any of the games over there.
I got it on right in front of me. Yeah, good pitching matchup. Freddie Freeman hit another long home run to continue his assault on the month of April. But Jeremy Hellickson's been very good for the Phillies early on in the season, and the Phillies taking 2 out of 3 from the Mets, which is very rare. As you know, follow Major League Baseball, the Mets have the Phillies number, but looking for a home stand win to start here on a Friday night. Phillies 3-2 in the top of the 7th.
All right. And Tanner Rourke going up against Harvey there. They're 3-3 in the top of the 7th.
Yeah, late scratch in that one, Tony. With DeGrom was supposed to go on the mound today, got the stiff neck, so Harvey got bumped up. He was actually on full rest. They got to him early, but yeah, 3-3 game there. Over-under opened up in that one, Tony. Interesting, it's 6.5, but that one was with Rourke and also DeGrom, so maybe it went up to 7. So you're sitting in the driver's seat right now with no less than a push here so far. All
right, looks good. And we got Chicago, Cincinnati. This is always the two teams that I love to watch. I don't know why. I grew up with the big red machine, but just seems like, you know, it's always an interesting matchup. And you got Leicester against Adelman. It's 4-2 Cincinnati. Bottom of the 6th right now. Cincinnati's got 2 on. Don't know how many outs, but Cincinnati, Donnie, here's a surprise for me this year.
No doubt about it. I mean, if you take a look at the teams that you thought would be the bottom, especially in the NL, one would have thought it would have been San Diego, the Atlanta Braves, and the Philadelphia Phillies. Very nice start there for Cincinnati. I don't know how long they're going to be able to hold on. Starting pitching really isn't there. They can hit the baseball. They do have some talent. A big dog coming into today. The Chicago line, Tony, peaked at about -200, peeled back in reverse to about that -170, -165 area. But again, April, live dog, Cincinnati at home.
And they're definitely a team to want to watch for the next few weeks at least. Cincinnati, the thing that worries me about them is they generally tend to start off real hot and then just seem to fizzle, as the dog days of summer come around. If they can stay healthy and keep it together and not have to get into that bullpen too much, they may make it a pretty decent run this year. We'll see. Yeah. Okay, we got St. Louis, Milwaukee. Wainwright and Peralta's pitching. St. Louis is up on them. The Brewers 2-1 right now, top of the 3rd. And Wainwright is always he's consistent, dominant on the mound, but seems to be that St. Louis is having a little bit of trouble this year so far. Everybody looked to them as like they were, going to be the division leader, Donnie. And what's going on with St. Louis?
Yeah, St. Louis struggling, especially Tony. 1-6 to the number there, obviously just winning the game on the road. Out of 7 games, only winning 1 game. The one thing interesting here as well is Wainwright's been known to tote the rubber, be that ace of the staff. Over a 9 ERA in his 2 starts on the road. Already has given up 1 run here within 2 full innings of pitching. We'll see if he can turn it around. But yeah, St. Louis, something's amiss with that lineup. Not much power, more of a balanced 1 through 8 lineup, leaving out the power. Some contact hitting there, some decent hitters, but not the St. Louis Cardinals teams of the past that we're used to. Missing the playoffs last year, not so hot of a start this year. We'll see what happens with Mike Matheny and the squad as the season goes along.
Yeah, and it's still early yet. Some teams of that caliber usually don't even hit their stride until late June, somewhere around the All-Star break, and then come out on the other side looking pretty good.
Yep.
So we'll see. San Francisco, Colorado, another surprise. They started off really good. Got Johnny Cueto going up against Chatwood. That should be a good pitching match. And as a matter of fact, Donnie, I was actually have a premium play on that game on the under. It was the only game that I picked today, and it's 3-0 in the top of the second already. So let's hope that the pitching stays solid.
Yeah, over under that one hanging around 10 there, Tony. And again, you're with the underplay. That's the way it started out in Colorado this year. You know, not a lot of overs, not a lot of high-scoring games just yet in Colorado. One would have thought that San Francisco, who's been really struggling on offense, being shut out twice in the past 4 games. Looks like they got a nice start with 3-0. Now it's going to be up for you, Tony, with that bet to see if Cueto can hold down the fort, maybe hold Colorado to that 2 to 3 runs, and maybe let that bullpen take over. But outside of this game here, Tony, with San Francisco, big news with Madison Bumgarner riding his motorcycle, as he probably shouldn't have been, out up to 2 months now with an AC joint injury to his left throwing shoulder. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on in San Francisco. That's the worst case scenario news that you can get.
Yeah, that's such a shame. That's such a big loss to San Francisco. Let's just hope that they can fill the shoes and get him through that. I guess, you know, if he's going to get hurt, better early in the season versus later in the season when they're in a run.
And by the way, Tony, that St. Louis Milwaukee game, the 2 runs for St. Louis, courtesy of Adam Wainwright. How about that?
All right. Yeah, I love it when those pitchers get involved.
2-run shot. Yeah, how about that?
Okay, let's see. We've got Boston-Baltimore. This is a game I think a lot of people were betting on tonight. Pomeranz and Bundy. Baltimore's up 2-0 at home right now. They were the home team last year. You just couldn't beat them at home. So we'll see if that continues this year. But do you think Boston? I mean, a lot of people predicted Boston to be the team in contention at the end.
Boston and Baltimore there in the AL East, Tony. The Yankees, you know, having a really nice surge to start the beginning of the season. Most picked them to be in that 3rd place range, along with the Rays pulling up the rear. Toronto, as we've seen, just awful to start the season. So this is a battle of the teams that one would expect these 2 to be in first place throughout the season. Dylan Bundy's been sensational. 2-0 there in the bottom of the 6th. So he's going a clean sheet for 6 innings, and that's no, easy task versus a talented Boston lineup, but I like what I see out of them. The one interesting thing, Tony, usually Baltimore outslug you. Last 2 games they beat the Reds. They only scored 2 runs, 2-1 game and a 2-0 game, and here they have 2 on the board in the bottom of the 6th, but continue to get good starting pitching and good outings out of the bullpen here, Tony.
All right, and that's going to be of key importance as well for them, just not to have to dip into that bullpen. Their starters, well, for most teams, I'm seeing it even since last year. There has to be those guys that go a little deeper. They got to get through 7 innings nowadays to be consistent and really give their teams a fighting chance, I think. Houston, Tampa Bay, you got Fires and Cobb. It's 3-3 tie in the top of the 6th there. Beltran's currently at the plate. Nobody on, 1 out. And Houston also, there's another little bit of a surprise, especially with Zach Greinke. I tell you what, looking at him coming into the season, Donnie, I would have bet that he would probably not be as good as he, at least as he started the season. But we'll see. What do you think about him so far?
Well, who are we talking about here, Tony? Houston or Tampa Bay?
Houston.
Houston very good to open up the season. I mean, Fires on the mound today, 3-3. Tampa Bay's a tough home squad. 8-2 overall to start the season for Tampa at home. The one interesting thing with Houston, they have been doing very well, but especially well against right-hand pitchers. 8-1 for the season so far. And also when you talk about a bounce-back team or a team that likes to ride a hot streak, which Houston is, 7-3 after a winning game on the diamond. So one of those teams to watch out for. I think they win that division, Houston, myself, and along with maybe Cleveland in the AL, maybe getting to that final matchup in the season to decide who gets to the World Series. But I'm high on Houston this year, Tony. Like that lineup a lot.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's a good team. And actually, I apologize. I was I was speaking about Arizona's Zach Greinke when I was talking about that. Got my team crossed up there. Apologies. Okay, next up, Carnes and Hamels for KC and Texas. Texas is another team that looks to be able to make a run. It's 3-1, top of the fourth for Texas. Cole Hamels, is he going to be as dominant this year, Donnie, as he was last year?
I think he's going to be good again. I mean, if you look at somebody in the AL, what you look for as having a solid season is somebody that's going to have an under 3.5 ERA. He should be able to do that again. Strong outings. He was fantastic coming over for Texas to start. Two interesting things about this game here: Kansas City and Texas. Both teams really struggling, Tony, to score runs.
Yeah.
You know, you saw the other game the other night, 13 or 14 innings, 1-0 was the final. Again, Kansas City finally in the first got the first run across in the first inning, had first and third, couldn't get any other across, and there they sit again with only one run on the board in the fourth inning. 3-1 Texas. Texas been struggling as well. Kansas City 2-5 on the road. Texas 1-6 versus teams, Tony, with a losing record, so certainly playing down right now to competition. There's a lot more talent on that team than what their record indicates. One would think they would turn it around as the season goes on here.
I agree. I think Texas just is coming out a little bit sluggish, but just haven't found the rhythm yet, but I think they will. Cleveland and Chicago, Corey Kluber and Quintana. Let's see, top of the fourth, Cleveland's up 3-0. There's 2 outs, Geyer's batting. That's a pitching matchup for sure. That's a game that I think actually, if I remember reading a couple articles today, I noticed that some of the other services were actually on the over on this game, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I could actually see their point of view on that, even though technically what you're looking at is you have 2 staff aces with Kluber and Quintana, just waiting for them to turn it around. Last start, Quintana was shelled by Minnesota. Kluber shelled by Detroit, so both of these guys looking for bounce-back efforts. It looks like Quintana is continuing to get hit right now, but Kluber coming out with a clean sheet, giving up 0 runs. Looks like we're heading to the bottom of the fourth at this point. The one thing keeping Chicago White Sox in these ball games, Tony, is a very viable bullpen at 1.41 to start the season. So even if you're not getting the best starting pitching, you're always going to be able to hang in Major League Baseball, especially in the American League, if you have a bullpen that can sort of put out the fire and give you good quality innings, which they have, because entering into the season, Chicago White Sox were not one of those teams that I was going to be looking to compete. I still don't think they will compete, but certainly they can hang in there if they're going to get bullpen action like they have to start the season here. Yeah,
I tend to agree with you, Donnie. I think they are probably playing some of their best baseball right now, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, come on. When you have Cody Ashe, who was a Phillies knockoff reject, is your not cleanup hitter, but hitting in the 5th spot, 6th spot, and being your DH, that's just a waste of a spot in the American League. So they're definitely a little bit devoid on talent. Got rid of Chris Sale, sort of raised that white flag, waiting for Yohan Moncada to come up from a AAA, maybe save the day. But we'll see how that goes. But clearly in rebuilding mode, Tony, for the Chicago White Sox.
Sure. And speaking of Chris Sale going over to Boston, wow, what a start for him this year. That's a complete surprise to me. I didn't think that Chris really had much left in him. I think he was probably going to end up being ended up going to the bullpen in my opinion. But I'm
really? How come? What, do you think he had an injury or something like that?
Well, yeah, he just at the end of the season last year and after the trade and everything, I think he just didn't look right. I don't know if it was a mental issue or what, but or maybe it was just a transitional issue. But I think now he's found a home. He feels comfortable where he's at. He knows he has a good lineup behind him. So maybe that just gives him that extra confidence to pitch like the old Chris Sale. But I just wasn't looking for much from him to begin the season.
Yeah, he's been lights out. I mean, he's probably been the best pitcher so far throughout Major League Baseball. Yesterday, even against a Toronto struggling team, goes 8 shutout innings, I believe 12 or 13. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was double-digit strikeouts. Yep. Didn't even get the win in that situation because Kimbrel gave up a solo blast in the 9th inning, sent it to extra innings. But he's been really good so far for Boston, and Boston needs that. Getting some struggling startings. Pomerantz has struggled a little bit. The knuckleballer Stephen Wright has struggled a little bit for them up there, waiting for David Price to get back off the DL. So he's going to be looked at as that anchor. He's provided that so far to Boston, and hopefully that'll keep them in the race until they get some of those reserves back.
All right. Next we go to Detroit, Minnesota. My buddy Verlander against Santiago, and love to watch Justin pitch. He's just masterful when he goes out there. Detroit's up 2-0 right now, bottom of the third. Sano's at bat right now, and the Twins, Donnie, a little bit of a surprise to me so far.
Yeah, Twins have been quite a surprise, but then again, sort of catching up to them already. We're only 3 weeks into the season. The bats have sort of gone cold. And here, as we look at the score again tonight, Verlander starting out well, 2-0 lead for Detroit. The one thing you can always bank on, Detroit suffered a couple losses down at Tampa Bay, but they're going to start to feast on that left-handed pitching again. Already on the early season, they faced 4 left-handed starting pitchers. They're 4-0 there. The one thing that's nice to see with Verlander tonight, an ERA on the road of over 9 in his last 2 road starts, or excuse me, 2 road starts on the season. So hopefully he can snap back and get that one here. Santiago's been on the mound. His 2 home starts, Tony, is sparkling .75 ERA, not 7.5. 0.75, but it looks like Detroit has already got to him early, which again is no surprise because that's what they do. They'll get to left-handed pitching.
Oh yeah, it's been interesting so far, and Justin had that outing the other day where he was throwing some really good stuff, but they were just all over it. They were hitting it. He just couldn't get the ball past him. It was just one of those days you got to shake it off and move on.
Yep.
Okay, New York against Pittsburgh. Sabathia and Glasnow. Pittsburgh's up 4-3, bottom of the 6th, and 1 out. And Osuna is at bat. And Sabathia, is he still bringing it? Or does he?
I mean, we'll see as the summer goes on. I know he started the season very well, so this is going to be an interesting matchup versus struggling Pittsburgh team. Pittsburgh touched him up pretty early, getting those early 4 runs, and score right now again is
4-3.
See here up on the board, 4-3. So he hasn't given up anything since early. Maybe he settled down. I actually don't even know if he's still in the game at this point. But New York Yankees certainly surprised to start the season. Very hot ball club. Pittsburgh's got some good young live arms. They're still reeling from the Starling Marte 80-game suspension that he's currently on, so they're going to be a little bit down. Was hoping for maybe a bounce back for Pittsburgh if McCutchen, had a year. Last year it wasn't very McCutchen-like, so to speak. All numbers across the board for him down. Was hoping for a bounce back, but losing arguably your best player, Marte, for most of the season here. I don't really know how much Pittsburgh's going to have in the tank, even when he does get back. But CC Sabathia on the mound today, giving up a little bit early. We'll see if the Yankees can come back, because if you look at one thing in this game, it's 4-3 right now. The bullpens are going to come into play. New York, a much better bullpen, Tony, than the Pittsburgh Pirates, so we'll see how that game plays out.
Yeah, they definitely have the youth on their side this year, so they're starting to gel together, and they could do some damage this year. But that remains to be seen. It's still early. So, all right, we've got some later games tonight. LA Dodgers, Wood is going up against Walker for the Diamondbacks. Donnie, the line sets at Arizona plus 130 right now.
I think you might get a little bit of a live dog in Arizona. The one thing that you always like to use early in the season here with the LA Dodgers is you want them to fade, or you want to fade the Dodgers versus left-handed pitching. Taijuan Walker does have electric stuff, but he is from the right-handed side, so that is why LA Dodgers are showing, even though they're on the road, as a nice price favorite there. If you're looking at 5 dimes or Chris hovering right around that minus 140, minus 141 number, I can agree with that there. But again, it's April. I'm not looking to lay 140 with the road team here, so one might lean towards Arizona. I just would feel a little bit more comfortable if Arizona had a lefty on the mound, like just say maybe Corbin was on there as opposed to Taijuan Walker. So not too much from me on this game, but if you're looking at the indicators here, it's probably an LA Dodgers line.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, and then at 10 o'clock, Miami and San Diego. Connolly against Cahill, and that's a pretty even matchup. And, speaking of which, it just jarred my memory. What do you think, Donnie, about the rumor that Derek Jeter and Jeb Bush going together to purchase the Marlins?
Yeah, somebody's going to end up. Usually what works well in that situation is you have to have big money backers. Obviously, Jeb Bush can put that together, but you also want a face of the organization. You saw almost the exact same thing, Tony, with the LA Dodgers. Who did they put as the face of the organization? Magic Johnson. You want that celebrity appeal. You want that good face on it, so you can show somebody to the crowd like, yes, we're trying to win. We hired a winner. This is how it's going to get done. So I like the matchup here. It's not like Jeb Bush is going to be, front and center and running debates as the Baltimore Marlins owner. He's going to be able to sit back there, rub, elbows with the elite and all that stuff, put the money together, and let Derek Jeter run that baseball operation and put the face of a champion at least on that team again.
So what do you think about Derek Jeter as a GM? Do you think he can put it together, put the pieces back together, and make that team?
Yeah, I'm not really big, maybe even on Derek Jeter being a GM, so to speak, but just one of those guys that can talk to free agents and really bend their ear, like the same thing that they're doing with the Lakers. Again, we get back to Magic Johnson. He's part owner, fraction of an owner of the Dodgers, but the face of it. Just one of those guys that if you're a superstar or you're looking to go to Miami, you say, hey, Derek Jeter's on the phone. He wants to fly you down and have dinner with you on South Beach. Like, you're going to go down and you're going to listen hard because you're going to know what he's saying is going to be the truth and how they're going to operate, what you can look forward to. He's been there, done that, multiple-time world champion, maybe one of the best players of all time, obviously being a Yankee, with Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio right up there on that Mount Rushmore. So you're going to listen to what he has to say. And I always like the fact that if you have a winner and you have somebody who's going to front the organization, that's going to work. Being a personnel guy, I don't really know how much that'll help, but just talking to free agents is certainly going to help.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jeter, I was glad to see this come up. Jeter was one that's been very smart with his money. Actually went to Warren Buffett and invested, had him help him with investing money, and that's why he's in the position that he's in, that he can go out there and make a play for the Marlins. I hope it happens. I'd like to see that, and I think it'd be good for baseball.
Yeah, it'd be great for baseball. You have to get out of that malaise. I mean, the Miami Marlins have a good team. It's a shame what happened to Jose Fernandez last year with the death, because he could have been a marketable guy that you used down the line. But just time to change the face down there and just put a winner on the field, because in most cities, in most areas, if you put a winning product on the field, the fans are going to get behind it and support it. So.
Mm-hmm. So San Diego, speaking of that team, the only team to be in that area now of Southern California. So do they get a little bit more attention down there, you think, Donnie?
Yeah, I mean, one would think, right? I mean, if you had your dollars to spend or people to pay attention to, I know San Diego State does have a pretty good football team, college football-wise, but it's not a professional game. So, I mean, you would want to get back and take a look at and reevaluate. This is a good chance for San Diego to steal the market. However, they haven't put their best foot forward, quote unquote, because they're just not spending any money and trying to tell you they're going to go through a rebuild, which their payroll is embarrassingly low. They're paying above their heads. Playing above their heads at 7-10 to start the season. After the first couple games, you might look at them and say, with this roster, are they even going to get to 50 wins? Which I know is extremely low, and even awful ball clubs win 62, 63 games. But they have opened up the season. It is their town to seize if they want it. Spend some money, put a product on the field, and again, those people will come out there and watch. Yeah,
I've been to Petco Park many times. Great stadium. Yeah, it's a fun place to go. If you want to watch a baseball game, that is a great stadium to go to.
Yep.
All right. Later on, we've got Toronto at the Angels, Latos against Meyer, and that's two righties. LA Angels are getting 140 roughly on the money line at home. So Toronto, here's another situation, Donnie, where you got a team that looks to be like a contender out there. Do you think they have the pitching and the bullpen to make the run?
Yeah, I don't like either one of these teams. I mean, Toronto, the way they opened up the season, even though it's still early, technically, 2-11, 2-12, whatever they are at this point, they're pretty much, out of it, one would say, because I know they're going to get Josh Donaldson back and maybe he's going to make a difference there, but you don't get out of that grade, especially when you have some really good other teams there in the AL East. On the Angels side of it, I don't really know what they have. I mean, they have the best player in baseball, Mike Trout. Pujols, you're hoping to get something at him. Cole Calhoun's a pretty good player. Escobar at the top of the lineup. But beyond that, it's not much there. There's not much on that pitching staff. They're in really a rebuild mode, trying to rebuild that, AA, single A, triple A team, which you're going to have a big thought coming up in the next few years, which even though how good Mike Trout is it great to pay a guy $300, $350, $400 million to be the centerpiece of your franchise, knowing you have no chance whatsoever to win because you can't build around them? Or do you move Mike Trout for 5-6 really big pieces and try to rebuild that? So that's one thing that you're going to have to look for in the future. But LAA, the Angels, I don't think they have much on the horizon. I don't think they're going to be a playoff contender, and maybe they do have to start looking, Tony, at shipping out Mike Trout and trying to rebuild that complete farm system.
Yeah, I think Lucky Lance would probably like to see Trout go where? maybe.
I mean, he's going to pick his spot. I mean, I know everybody in Philadelphia is clamoring since he's a hometown boy, but money's going to talk in that, and to see who lays out that $350 or $400 million contract. That must be nice to sign your first contract where, you're feeling your way around. They know you're a good team. Yeah, we'll give you 6 years or 5 years, $100 million, just for you to bypass maybe 1 or 2 years of free agency. And then on the backside, sound like a $350 million deal on top of that. Must be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's incredible. All right, and the last game tonight we've got is Seattle at Oakland, Iwakuma and Manea. Righty and lefty, and Oakland's getting 120, 115 at home. So Oakland, here's again, young team starting out early, starting out good. Do we see them make a little run here this year, Donnie?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're still in that Moneyball type mode where they don't have much money. They just had to piece it together. I actually like their lineup 1 through 9.
Yeah.
Oakland always is a sneaky team at home. They're only 5-5 at home to start the season, but Seattle's been a train wreck on the road, 1-7. We're a heavy favorite last night with Paxton on the mound, who hadn't given up a run all season long, versus a journeyman named Valdez, and that didn't work out well. They got an early 3-0 lead. Gave that up, ended up losing the game. So I don't really know what to expect out of Seattle. It seems ever since, Tony, that they got Robinson Cano and paid him all that money, they just can't surround them with the right pieces. King Felix getting another year older, Iwakuma getting another year older. It's going to be interesting to see the trajectory of that Seattle team over the next year or two, because they're really not getting any younger at this point.
That's true. It's a long grind, and some of these guys do have a few years on them, and it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully they stay healthy and get towards the end there. A couple of score changes. Cincinnati's up 5-2 on Chicago Cubs, and St. Louis now has a 5-1 lead over Milwaukee. So there's some numbers being put up over there. Not much else has changed, but looks like some good baseball being played. I'm really happy to see some of these starting pitchers coming out and doing what they're doing this year. It gives me, looking forward to later in the season when we really get into the grind that these guys stay healthy. It just makes the games much more interesting to me. I don't know about you, Donnie.
No, yeah, it's fun summer. I mean, it's a long grind. We got the NFL draft coming up next week, which I know, you guys being up in Michigan, they're very big fans, Detroit, and looking to see what they're going to do. Myself with the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I mean, it's a never-ending sports cycle for us, Tony, as we know, being in this business. But that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps the drive, which keeps it fun.
It's a lot of fun. And NFL did just release the season schedule, which I was very excited to see that on November 9th, I will be at Ford Field to watch my Cleveland Browns play the Detroit Lions.
Yes, they're Super Bowl caliber type game there for you.
Absolutely. It's rare that happens, but when I get to take advantage of it, I will. So
sure thing. Yep, absolutely.
But it's a lot of fun. Well, listen, guys, we got a lot of baseball to talk about this year. Very soon, Donnie and I will be starting our daily show, and we'll give you a rundown on some betting picks and some things to look at on a daily basis before the night games get going. And then, of course, every Friday we'll be here to wrap up the week and look forward to the weekend. And there's a lot of things coming up. So, guys, make sure you get over to Rightside, Donnie Rightside. It's RightSideVP.com, right?
It's DonnieRightside.com and on Twitter at RightSideVP. Come check it out.
RightSide. Go see Donnie over there. You can always check us out here at TrendBetting.com as well. And guys, tonight's show has been sponsored by TrendBetting.com. And guys, if you're looking for your next career in sports as a sports writer or a salesman, please get in touch with us on our career page at Indeed.com. Just search for Trend Betting Media Group, and you can make your application there. There's a lot of positions open right now that we would like to get filled. So, Donnie, it's been great. It's fun. I haven't talked to you in a few weeks, and I really enjoy our little 30-minute sessions together, and looking forward to next week and our daily schedule as it comes along. You got anything else you want to tell the people tonight, Don?
No, I'm just excited about the season. You know me. I mean, I give out most of my information for free throughout April. We've been doing very good, obviously hitting on a lot of these against the public plays. But May 1st starts my package. Check it out, DonnieRightside.com, TrendBetting.com. Check me out on Twitter at RightSideVP. But nice long summer ahead of us. And again, the season's always transition. We had a lot of fun during college basketball. We'll have a lot of fun during Major League Baseball. And before you know it, Tony, leaves are going to be changing on the trees. We're going to be talking college and NFL football. So a lot of fun here with TrendBetting.com.
Can't wait. All right, guys. Well, it's been a good night. We'll see you guys next Friday here, and look forward to it. And let's play some baseball. All right, guys. It's been Long Shots TV. Remember to take a shot with Long Shots because we are the game. Good night.
Take care.